Penguin Random House Audio presents The Girl Who Smiled Beads, A Story of War and What Comes After, by Clemantine Wamariya and Elizabeth Weil. Read for you by Robin Miles, with special commentary by the author. For Claire, and for Mukamana, who taught me how to create and live in my own umugami. A note from the authors. This is a work of nonfiction. A handful of the people in the book have been given pseudonyms. Otherwise, everyone is identified by their real names. We have worked hard to be accurate, and just as crucial to a book like this, emotionally honest. But memory is flawed and idiosyncratic, and many of the events described here happened decades ago to a child under intense stress. Every human life is equally valuable. Each person's story is vital. This is just one. What are the words you do not yet have? What do you need to say? Audre Lorde, Sister Outsider. Prologue, 2006. The night before we taped the Oprah show in 2006, I met my sister Claire at her apartment in a public housing unit in Edgewater, where she lived with the 3 kids she'd had before age 22, thanks to her ex-husband, an aid worker who'd pursued her at a refugee camp. A black limo arrived and drove us to downtown Chicago, to the Omni Hotel near where my sister used to work. I now can't think about that moment without also thinking about my own naivete. But at the time, all I felt was elated. I was 18, a junior at New Trier High School, living Monday through Friday with the Thomas family in Kenilworth, a fancy suburb. I belonged to the church youth group. I ran track. I'd played Fantine in the school production of Les Miserables. I was whoever anybody wanted me to be. Claire, meanwhile, remained steadfast, herself, a seemingly rougher bargain. Unlike me, she was not a child when we got resettled in the United States, so nobody sent her to school, or took her in, or filled her up with resources, piano lessons, speech therapists, cheerleading camp. Claire just kept hustling. For a while she made a living throwing parties, selling drinks, and hiring DJs who mixed American hip-hop, the Zairean superstar, Papa Wemba, and French rap. But then she learned it was illegal to sell liquor without a license, and she started working full-time as a maid, cleaning 200 hotel rooms a week. All I knew about the show we were taping was that it was a 2-part series. The first segment showed Oprah and Elie Wiesel visiting Auschwitz, God help us. The second featured the 50 winners of Oprah's high school essay contest. Like the other winners, I had written about Wiesel's book Night, his gutting story of surviving the Holocaust and why it was still relevant today. The book disarmed me. I found it thrilling, and it made me ashamed. Wiesel had words that I did not have to describe the experiences of my early life. I dictated my essay to Mrs. Thomas as she sat in her tasteful Midwestern house, gracious lawn, mahogany floors, at a huge computer that took up the whole desk. "Clementine," she'd said, "you have to enter. I just know you'll win." Mrs. Thomas had 3 children of her own, plus me. I called her my American mother, and she called me my African daughter. She packed my lunch every day and drove me to school. In my essay, I said that maybe if Rwandans had read Night, they wouldn't have decided to kill one another. On the way to downtown Chicago, Claire and I had the inevitable conversation, "Is this happening? This is so weird," which was as close as my sister and I got to discussing what had happened to our lives. If we absolutely had to name our past in each other's presence, we'd call it the war. But we tried not to do that. And that day, we were both so consumed by all the remembering and willful forgetting that when we arrived at the Omni and the bellhop asked, "Do you have any bags?" we realized we'd left all our clothes at home. Claire took the L back to her apartment, where a friend was watching her children, Mariette, who was almost 10, Freddie, who was 8, and Michelle, who was 5. I stayed in the hotel room, lost. Harpo Studios gave us each a $150 stipend for dinner. It was more than Claire's monthly food stamp allowance. When Claire returned, we ordered room service. We woke at 4 a.m. and spent hours getting dressed. That day for the show, the producers directed us to the huge studio. Oprah sat on stage on a white love seat, next to tired old Elie Wiesel in a white overstuffed chair. He was alive, old but alive, which meant the world to me. He kept looking at the audience, like he had a lot to say, but there was no time to say it. In this nice studio, in front of all these well-dressed people, Oprah's team played the video of Oprah and Elie Wiesel walking arm in arm through snow-covered Auschwitz, discussing the Holocaust. Then the producers gave us a break. We sat in silence. Some of us were horrified, and others were crying. After that, Oprah said glowing things about all the winners of the essay contest, except me. I told myself this was fine. Fine. I hadn't really gone to school until age 13, and when I was 7, I'd celebrated Christmas in a refugee camp in Burundi with a shoebox of pencils that I'd buried under our tent so that nobody would steal it. Being in the audience was enough, right? Plus, I kept wanting to say to Oprah, "Do you know how many years and across how many miles Claire has been talking about meeting you?" But then Oprah leaned forward and said, "So, Clementine, before you left Africa, did you ever find your parents?" I had a mic cord tucked under my black TV blazer and a battery pack clipped to my black TV pants, so I should have suspected something like this was coming. "No," I said. "We tried UNICEF. We tried everywhere, walking around searching and searching and searching." "So when was the last time you saw them?" she asked. "It was 1994, I said, when I had no idea what was going on." "Well, I have a letter from your parents," Oprah said, as though we'd won a game show. "Clementine and Claire, come on up here." Claire held on to me. She was shaking, but she kept on her toughest, most skeptical face, because she knows more about the world than I do, and also because she refused to think, even after all we'd been through, that anybody was better or more important than she was. When we were dirt poor and alone, she'd be in her 7th hour of scrubbing someone's laundry by hand, and she'd see on a TV an image of Angelina Jolie swaggering and gleaming, radiating moral superiority. And even then Claire would say, "Who is that? God? You're human. Nothing separates me from you." I have never been, Claire. I have never been inviolable. Often still, my own life story feels fragmented, like beads unstrung. Each time I scoop up my memories, the assortment is slightly different. I worry at times that I'll always be lost inside. I worry that I'll be forever confused. But that day I leapt up onto the set, smiling. One of the most valuable skills I'd learned while trying to survive as a refugee was reading what other people wanted me to do.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?